Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, happy holidays and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years we've been asking the Franchpreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. Well, today is day 8 of our 12 days of franchising, where each day from December 12th to December 24th, we'll ask Santa for a particular franchise opportunity. And on the 8th day of Christmas, we ask Santa for the 2 Men in a Truck franchise opportunity. So listen to the interview to find out why, and that's coming right up on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
At T-Mobile, we're declaring the end of data limits. Introducing T-Mobile One. One price, all unlimited for everyone. That's right. Get unlimited 4G LTE data on your smartphone on our network that was built to handle it. And get it at a price that won't break the bank. With 4 lines of unlimited LTE data for just $35 a line per month with AutoPay. Switch today.
Top 3% of data users greater than 26 gigabytes per month may see reduced speeds until next bill cycle. Video typically streams at 480p with qualifying credit discount via bill credit plus taxes and fees.
Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years we've been asking the Franchpreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show. Today, Franchise Interviews celebrates 6 years and 300 shows, and we couldn't think of anyone better to celebrate our 6-year anniversary with than Melanie Bergeron, the chair of 2 Men in a Truck. And it all started as an after-school business with 2 high school boys, and now 20 years later, 2 Men in a Truck International has grown both domestically and internationally. This is an amazing story as well as franchise, and find out why by listening to today's show. We're also going to hear clips from our interview with Lonnie Helgerson, and Lonnie is the author of the great franchise book, 5 Pennies, and we're going to hear a clip with our interview with the undercover boss, Catherine Monson, and Catherine Monson is the CEO of Fast Signs, and that's all coming up on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years now, we've been asking the Franchpreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews. And as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Franchise Interviews is celebrating a 6-year anniversary and 300th show. And we couldn't think of anyone better to celebrate our 6-year anniversary with than Melanie Bergeron, the chair of Two Men in a Truck. And it all started as an after-school business for 2 high school boys, and then 20 years later, Two Men in a Truck International has grown both domestically and internationally. This is an amazing story as well as franchise. And why don't we go right into our interview with Melanie Bergeron, where are we calling you today? CEO of where are you actually located today? Enjoy.
I'm in my office in Lansing, Michigan.
Oh, nice. And that's where your headquarters is, right?
Yes, and this is where the company started.
Okay, that's fantastic. And you have an interesting story. It's one of the reasons why, we started the show, Melanie, is we've always found that there's, interesting stories behind franchisees and franchise stores. What were you doing before joining Two Men in a Truck?
I was a pharmaceutical sales rep in Atlanta, Georgia.
Which is
so
interesting.
Quite different.
Yeah, it is quite different. And it's funny, too, Melanie, because over time we've noticed a lot of people in the pharmaceutical industry turning to franchising. You say, well, what's the relationship between the two? And you were one of the, if my story is correct, I guess one of the first franchisees, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yep.
What was it about Two Men in a Truck at the time, that you saw this potential, Melanie? Because we've spoken about the great stories like Dave Thomas, when he recognized the opportunity with KFC. I think he was the second franchisee to KFC. What was it about Two Men in a Truck that you realized it was this great opportunity?
I'll give you a brief history about how I got involved and then how I got to the corporate headquarters. But I will say, okay, good. I think pharmaceutical sales reps, if they're attracted to franchising, I think it's because they're very process-driven, they're very training-driven, they're very brand-driven. I think they have really good time management skills. But for all those reasons, I could see why they would like franchising, and just to be in business on their own and putting their energy towards something that is theirs. So anyway, my history with Two Men in a Truck, my mom actually founded the business with my brothers, Brig and John Sorber, and they were 15 and 17 years old at the time. And she had this old 67 Ford pickup truck in our driveway. And this is the early 80s, and there was a recession going on then as well. And my mom said, why don't you take that pickup and haul trash for people and just make some spending money. And my mom was a single working mom at the time, and just looking for a way to make some extra income. So the boys started doing that, and sure enough, people wanted them to haul trash for them. And my mom then said, every time you come home from one of your jobs, I want you to put a little money in this dish on the counter, and we have enough money, we'll place an ad in the paper. And so soon they did have enough money, and she put an ad in our local paper in Lansing, Michigan called the Wheeler Dealer, and the ad said, Two Men in a Truck will move you. And she was just calling it what it was, because back in the early 80s, there was no brand advertising where you could go in the grocery store and buy things less expensively, because they were just in white boxes with black writing that said graham crackers, cereal, ice cream. And that's where she got the idea, 2 men and a truck. So anyway, she knew that she couldn't move those households in the old 67 Ford pickup truck, so she went out and bought an old used bread delivery truck for $350, and that's the only personal money that she ever put into the business. But the truck had a lot of issues. The gas gauge didn't work. You know, it didn't have a ramp on the back for heavy items. And with time, my brothers made a good decision, and they decided to go on to college. So my mom hired 2 movers and really started a real moving business. And at the time, I lived in Atlanta. I was a pharmaceutical sales rep. You know, I did the great job, the company car, the benefits, lived at my own. I felt like I had made it. Well, she kept calling me, encouraging me to start a 2 men in a truck moving business. I'm like, Mom, does it make any money? She's like, I'm not sure, but people seem to really need this service. So I thought, you know what, I'll just do it as a hobby, you know, on the side. So I went and bought an old used truck, and I had painted on the side 2 men in a truck. And but I had issues too. A year after I was in business, I realized I never had a license plate on the truck after a year.
Oh, my God.
So, and I didn't get in trouble, but I did get a plate, and we just knew so little less, you know, back then. And then if you want me to, I can continue, or...
Yeah, I mean, it kind of like segues into the history and the character of the organization as you're telling the story. You know, and these are always such wonderful stories, aren't they, Melanie? Like when you go back and you reflect on how the company started. I had no idea that that's how the name actually came about, because I was going to ask you, you know, how did you guys come up with the name? And it makes sense, doesn't it, now, as you're telling the story, you know? So it's just fascinating. Yeah, and maybe you could dive like deeper into, you know, the history of the company, you know, and how 2 Men in a Truck became so successful.
Sure. I will just ramble on, so just cut me off whenever you want. I'll just.
No, this is great stuff.
I love it. So anyway, the logo, if your listeners know what that looks like, it's a sketch truck with a logo. My mom sketched that for my brothers on a napkin, and quite often people comment, how clever that you had a child draw your logo. And they're like, oh, that was my mom. But if you look at the logo, looks like one of the stick men has more hair than the other. So my brothers have teeth, which one is them. And it works well internationally because no one's driving the truck. Both stick men have their arms in the air, and there's no steering wheel. But it's worked really well for us. Okay, so I was in Atlanta. My mom's in Lansing, and she starts thinking, gosh, I wonder if I should franchise this thing because it's taking off really well in both places. And she was asked to sit on a panel discussion with a friend of hers at Lansing Community College, and this woman had a franchise business called the Pet Nanny. And the woman said to my mom, you know, Mary Ellen, you need to franchise your business. And my mom said, well, I don't think you can franchise moving people. And this lady said, oh, for heaven's sakes, Mary Ellen, all I do is babysit cats and dogs, and I franchise my business. You can too. So my mom started using her resources, you know, back then it was called the UFOC, now it's called the FDD, putting all that together and protecting our name. And anyway, she continued to work hard. And after a few years, I started getting homesick. So I wanted to move back to Michigan. So I sold my I sold my 2 Men in a Truck business, and I quit my pharmaceutical sales job. I moved to the Detroit area. I got a new pharmaceutical sales job, and I started another 2 Men in a Truck. And after a few years, my mom called me, and she said, this is 1994 to be exact, she said, Melanie, I think I'm going to get into politics. And I was just wondering if you would take over the franchise company, 2 Men in a Truck. And at that point, she had 36 franchise locations. Gross sales were $6 million. Wow. She was doing, you know, she was doing pretty good, and she was doing this all by herself.
Yeah.
And she said, there's one catch. You know, I want you to take over, but I can't pay you anything because while the franchise businesses are making money, corporate headquarters is not making any money. I thought, oh, yuck. But I thought, you know, I want to do this because each of my brothers had a franchise by that time. My mom had one. I had one. It was truly a family business, and I wanted to put all of my pharmaceutical sales skills and high energy into growing the family business. So I quit my pharmaceutical sales job, and I started commuting to Lansing from Detroit every day. And at the time, the office was in an old house, in the attic of a house. There was no office space, so I actually sat at a copy machine, for my first year as president of
That's
Two Men in a
amazing.
Truck. And then, I'll tell you where the blessings just kept appearing at our door. I mean, amazing, amazing things continue to happen. I'm just so thankful to God for all of these things.
Yeah.
But as I sat there, I thought, why don't we have any money? We're not making any money.
Mm-hmm.
And another problem I realized, I understood moving, but I didn't understand the franchise business model. And any of your listeners out there know that franchising is a different business model than whatever service or product they're providing. It's two things. But I didn't get that, and this was before the Internet was used like it is today.
Right.
I wasn't aware of the IFA, the International Franchising Association. There weren't any books. You know, there wasn't Amazon.com. I just didn't know how to research it.
Right.
Well, back then, our Governor Engler, he was looking at businesses in Michigan that he could help. He wanted to create more jobs in Michigan because we're trying to get through that recession. So he chose Two Men in a Truck, and he offered us 1 year of free consulting services from Deloitte and Touche. And honestly, back then, I didn't even know what Deloitte and Touche was. But he matched us up with our consultant, and he was actually a partner out of Detroit with Deloitte and Touche, very high up. And I worked with him for every Tuesday for a year. His name was John Fovanesi. And he taught me everything there was to know about franchising. And he said, Melanie, the reason you don't have money is you're not charging enough. And he said, don't feel bad, because women quite often don't charge enough for their products or services.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove to each of those 36 franchises. We couldn't afford to fly back then or anything. And I explained to them that our royalty was going to have to go up from 4% to 6%. And I explained what they could expect in return, with services. And they were all very much on board with it. And things, I'm telling you, Marty, things just blossomed from there. We had more money. We could start hiring people. And today, we are very blessed. This year we'll gross over $260 million. We have over 200 franchises in the U.S. We're in the U.K., Canada, Ireland. Our average franchisee gross is $1.3 million. These are numbers I can give you because they are in our Item 19 and our FDD. And the last couple numbers I'll give you, our top 25% of our franchisees gross $1.5 million and net 24%. But the thing, we're still privately held by my mom, Mary Ellen Sheets, my two brothers, Brig and John Sorber, myself. The thing we're most proud of is we really give back to the community. Collectively, we've given over $16 million back to charities. Our charity of choice is the American Cancer Society, and I love this because our franchisees vote on our charity of choice, and the American Cancer Society continues to win by a landslide every time. We give 10 cents from every move to that great charity, and there's several others that we're involved with. But when you're in business a long time like we've been, I think a lot of it's leaving that legacy, helping others and giving back that gives you the drive to just keep wanting to be great. So that's our story.
What a great story! I got to tell you, and as I said, I've been doing the show 6 years, and Lonnie Helgerson said, you have to have Melanie on your show because she has a story, and he's right. This has become one of my favorite stories in franchising. It's such an amazing story, and it seemed like too, Melanie. I guess you being very grateful too. And the company now giving back, to society, and all these other charities out there, I think is fantastic, and it's important. It's what an amazing story. That's really incredible.
Really, it's really important to give back. And one new program we've started, we've had it for about 2 years. It's called Movers for Moms, and it's where we advertise to all the communities where we serve that we're collecting goods at charter schools, and there are different places to drop goods off for women in disadvantaged women in homes that have been abused, so they could leave slippers, lotion, things like that. And then our movers go to each of these collection areas, collect all the items, and then take them to homeless shelters on Mother's Day. And that's called Movers for Moms. But the beautiful thing that has come out of that, the movers love to do this. And a lot of them do it with their volunteer time, picking up the items for these moms. And taking care of these moms in the homeless shelters gives them self-confidence that the community still cares about them, and just kind of gives them hope, that there's a brighter future ahead. So that's a new thing we're just starting and very, very excited about.
That's fantastic. When you guys are at like a franchise show, Melanie, 2 Men and a Truck Rider franchise show, and someone were to come up to your booth and they say, the typical question is always like, so, what do you do? What's the typical response?
In the olden days, it may have been, we're a moving company, but we're not a moving company. We're so much
I thought
more.
It was a little deeper than
and not
that,
sound egotistical, but for me to go from pharmaceutical sales to a moving company, the reason I fell in love with moving and what I share in trade show booths that I work often is that you're providing exceptional customer service at a time when people are in great need. So we're a customer service company that happens to have moving as its venue. But what I've learned over the years is that people that are moving, it's usually a traumatic or sad time in their life. It's usually due to a divorce, which is horrible. It's due to a death in the family, downsizing, and people are very, very emotional about leaving their home, and they have all their possessions. Even if it's a happy thing, like a marriage or people are coming together, moving is stressful. So we take our training very, very seriously at 2 Men and a Truck, and our hiring. We hire for attitude, and then we train the skill. But we want our movers to show up on time, clean trucks, in uniform, be upbeat, understand that the customer is going to be stressed out, and make everything as stress-free as possible. And that, Marty, I think the reason for our success is because we are customer-centric. Our eyes are on the customer. We're not doing what's best for Mary Ellen, the founder, any family member or franchisee. Everyone in our company knows that we want to do the best thing for the customer. And if it's something that can be rolled out, an idea that can be rolled out nationwide, we cut out all the bureaucracy too. Let's get that idea out there, anything we can do to better serve. And if there's a damage or anything, we pride ourselves in rushing in and taking care of that right away, and impressing the customer with that we care. We don't want to leave you, troubled. Every business has its issues, and anyway, we try to take care of ours and just exceed our customers' expectations all the time. And because of that, customers tell people, I had a good experience with 2 Men and a Truck, and that's where all of our business, the majority of it, comes from. It's word of mouth. So we have to take customer service very seriously.
Well, that's well said. You said the workers and the franchisees, Melanie, they hire for like attitude and skill. What do you look for in your franchisees then? Like what type of characteristics or skills are you looking for? We do like people with some business experience. We do have core values that they really need to believe in because we live them here. They're not just on a poster on the wall, but they have to have that caring attitude because we're in the service industry. Give back to the community is just a huge thing that we live out throughout the year. Integrity goes without saying, so we do criminal and financial background checks because we just want the best people in our system. And we have something called the grandma rule,
It's one of our core values, and that is to treat everyone as if it were your grandma with dignity, respect, and patience. And our movers really get that one. And be your best and have fun, and inclusion. We include all people from all backgrounds of life. Okay, those are our core values. So we're looking for franchisees that believe in those. And we're also, skill set-wise, we're looking for someone that has skill in one of the following areas, either operational management or some financial experience or some marketing experience. Whoever we speak with them, believe me, we have people, we have doctors, we have appliance repairmen, we have nurses, we have teachers, we have everyone you can imagine in our system. But we also think it's very key that they realize their weaknesses and hire against those. Me, for example, am horrible with numbers. Horrible. So, I would need to hire an accountant to explain things to me. But it's just understanding where you're weak. And but the other thing we're looking for in a really good franchisee is someone that knows how to follow a process, because that's what franchising is. It's full of processes. There is no favoritism. Everything's about numbers. And, we want to treat everyone as fairly as we can, but we're pretty strict about letting people in, because if they don't get the process part, they'll just be miserable. And we look at it as a marriage. So our agreements are 5 years long, and we want to make sure we marry people that are excited about our system and understand our culture and know how we work. So they'll be so much happier. So.
Wow. That's well said. Well, once you decide that it's a match, Melanie, and they like you, you like them, and they decide to go forward with the Two Men and Chuck franchise, what's the training like from there? How does that work? Do they come to headquarters or?
Yes. Once they sign the agreement, then they come in for a 2-week training session, and it's really neat. It's here in Lansing, Michigan, and if your listeners go online, they can see pictures of our Stickman University. We have a beautiful training facility with computers where we teach our Movers Who Care scheduling program. We also have a 2-story house in our building, and it's 1,100 square feet. It's fully furnished, has a washer and dryer, dishes, completely furnished. And we also have a 26-foot truck box in the building with a plexiglass side. And it's pretty neat. The final day of training, it's a simulated move. So we make it tough on the franchisee because we want them to be prepared when they go out in the real world. But they will have the problem customer call them, maybe movers not showing up. So, and then they've got to, we actually send movers over, and they've got to go through how to load the truck. And because we're teaching them things that they'll teach their movers. The good thing is we know that these are business people coming in, learning how our business system works for 2 weeks, but we have so much training for the movers and the move managers. We have webinars, we have annual conventions, we have a certification program, we have online training, we have manuals, we have franchise business consultants that go out that are specifically trained to help the first-year franchisee. Because at Two Men and a Truck, we know as a system, our success is based on every single franchisee's success. So we're looking at their profitability. We just get out there, and the quicker they learn and are up to speed, it's better for everyone. So, we have a laser-like focus on training and helping that franchisee and being responsive to them.
Wow,
and the other thing I'll add that is unique compared to other franchisors, and believe me, I mentor several emerging franchisors, and I share this advice with everyone. We share all our numbers. So, and we've done it since day one because my mom didn't know people didn't do that. So she just showed everyone's numbers. And now we've got it in real time. So people can get online, look at each other's sales numbers, daily sales numbers, all their expenses, because we're all on the same chart of accounts. You know, like how are they getting labor so low? You know, where are they getting their fuel for their trucks? Wow. And they can look at their neighbors, you know, like, I think I'm doing all the business I can. Then they look at Sally next door. Her numbers are skyrocketing. It takes away that glass feeling of, oh, this is the best I can do. It's like, well, she can do that. I can do that. So it's transparency, which builds trust. And all of our awards are based that way, too, on a numbers criteria where people can go in and see, you know. In other words, rather than giving our awards just based on sales numbers, we have a balanced scorecard approach. So we measure, you know, are people out speaking to elected officials? How much community service are they doing? How much training are they getting? All of these things are scored. And then at the end of the year, our top achievers go on a wonderful trip. We all go as a group. And like last year we went to Switzerland. This year we went to Napa Valley. So we have a meeting on the trip. And they're called the Leaders in Excellence. So we base a lot on recognition here at Two Men in the Truck, too. And just try to keep it fun, upbeat and fun.
It sounds like it. And it sounds like a real type of family type of franchise system, too. You know, and again, I've done a lot of these interviews over time, but I mean, the way you're describing it, it must be an amazing feeling for you, Melanie, and your mom and your family, you know, to just see, you know, where the company, because you were there at the beginning, and where it is now today, and what you've done, you know, for people's lives, you know, is creating all these different franchisees. What does that feel like for you?
It just feels so amazing and wonderful, and we look back and pinch ourselves. There's been a lot of evolution, and I think the blessing in all this as a family is we've had to evolve with the changes, and we had legacy management for many, many years, and then we had to transition to executive management, which was difficult to change all those people to get us to the next level. So we've had different bumps that we've had to, and challenges that we've had to overcome, but to stay alive and relevant and to be the best for our customers, you have to change, you know, especially with all that's going on with computers and everything. I'd say right now our biggest challenge is helping people to understand that the moving business is very, very lucrative. If you work hard, I mean, it's not easy, but there's just so much opportunity. And going into January, our focus is going to be in the D.C. area and the East Coast markets. And just for any listeners out there that are curious, just to look into it. The nice thing about Two Men in a Truck is it's scalable. So when people are ready to go or grow, they add a truck, add a truck, add a truck. And then if, depending on what the economy is doing, then you could take a truck out if you had to. Whereas with other franchise systems, you usually have to add a store, add a location.
That's true.
So it's just another beautiful thing. I'm using every second of your time I can to encourage people to think about this business as an opportunity.
It's an amazing opportunity. And, you know, I guess I could officially call you an expert. I know that I believe you are a certified franchise expert. And one of the questions we've been asking on the show, Melanie, for the last 6 years is, you know, what advice would you give to our listeners? We call them aspiring franchipreneurs. You know, so many of them know they want to get into a franchise opportunity, but it seems a little more difficult today because there's just so much out there. And I think a lot of our listeners, they just simply don't know where to begin. I think they get a little overwhelmed. What would you say to them as an expert in franchising?
I would look at the concept and think about who the audience is that you'll be working with. Because no matter what product or service it is, it's not really the product or service, it's who you're delivering to. And, you know, is this an audience that you could be comfortable with? I guess that would be the first thing I would look at. Second, are there unit economics? Third, is this a fad? Is it going to be around 10 years from now? Fourth, how expensive is it to get involved? Are you going to be able to get a loan for it? You know, 5, is it going to be difficult to learn this product or service, or will it be pretty easy to learn and teachable to others? Also look for state regulations. Is there a location available in your city or state? Are there special regulations toward that product or service? Because a lot of products and services are regulated, and I'll tell you moving is. But the biggest thing your listeners can do is call as many, once they receive the permission, call as many of the franchisees in that system that they can. And a couple red flags, if you get the FDD from a company and there is not an item number 19, and that shows, just shows average numbers that franchisees make, that's a red flag, and find out why they don't have that in their FDD. Secondly, when the prospect does receive permission to call franchisees and they give you a very short list, that's a red flag.
Yes.
And it'd be nice, Two-Man Truck, we give all of our franchisees, even people that have left the system, because we want that prospect to call as many people as possible. And if they say, I would never do this, I made a big mistake, then the prospect should ask, well, you sound disappointed, would you do it all over again? And if they say never, then it might be good for the prospect to say, then would you be willing to sell your location? The truth will bubble up in that answer. And then keep in mind, if we, it's not often this happens, but if we had a prospect called Two Men in a Truck, and they said, we talked to this franchisee and they don't like the way you do things, then we would probably say, you know what, you won't be happy in our system then, because that is how we do things. So I think for a prospect, they're going to get a bulk of their education by checking references. Very, 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 very important.
Wow, that's a great question. I never heard that before, in all the years I've been studying franchising is, if someone said, they never would have got into it again, then you say, well, would you sell me yours? And they said no. That would be like, well, okay, I never thought of that. I mean, that's very clever. I had a feeling your response would be, nothing less than spectacular. It's fantastic. So I know that you're looking to grow towards like the East Coast, but I guess if you're looking, like 3 to 5 years down the road, is there anything else, like what are the other future plans for Two Men in a Truck, Melanie?
We're focused on the East, but I must say we're focused on the West, and my niece, Alicia Sorbert, she is the third generation. She's only 26. She started a franchise in San Diego, and her grand opening was last week. We're just definitely spreading to the East Coast, the West Coast. We have a wonderful new IT system, just like a $10 million renovation to our IT that's rolling out right now. And we're just looking at ways to better serve our customers with backhauls and different ways of making our franchisees more profitable. But our focus right now is still on the U.S. It's residential and commercial moving, long distance as well. And then, of course, we'll be looking to go more global. I mean, we're global now, but we still have a lot of work to do in the U.S. And then we'll just expand from there. We are the 5th largest moving company in the U.S., and we just want to be number 1 at customer service in moving, not only in service, moving services, but just we want to be very, very well thought of and a household name to our customers. And getting back to the community will always stay up there at the very top of the list.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again, Melanie. This has been a wonderful interview, and I've mentioned several times, we've been doing the show now 6 years, and this has certainly been one of my favorite interviews to do. So I'm so glad that I finally had a chance to speak with you. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on becoming a Two Men in a Truck franchisee? Are there any websites they should go to, any numbers they should call that you want to give out?
Yes. Well, first, can I say thank you. It is an honor. An absolute honor to be on your 300th show and on your 6th year anniversary. It's just a blessing.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to hear more or learn more about Two Men in a Truck, they can just go to www.twomen, twomeninatruck or twomen.com, TWOMEN, and our 1-800 number is 1-800-345-1070. But if they go online, they will learn so much about us. And or they can call me or email me, and I love to answer franchising questions as well. So,
and you can hear your passion in talking about the company too, and I guess that has a lot to do with you being there from the beginning too, but it's very refreshing to talk to someone like yourself, and someone who's just so passionate about this business. I can tell that you have fun every day at work, and you're probably going to do this a very long time.
Thanks, Marty. I do love franchising. It's kind of,
you can tell. You can hear it in your voice, which is again one of the great reasons we love having people like you on the show. It's fantastic. So I want to thank you again, Melanie. It's been wonderful to speak with you, and hopefully, we don't have to wait 6 years to have you on the show next time. I'd like to, give you all a call and maybe have some of your franchisees on the show next year, and just continue to watch you grow. It's a wonderful, amazing story in franchising, I think.
I would love to have our franchisees on. Yes, you too. Thank you, Marty.
Thanks. Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.